Shall we? Here we go. Hi, I'm Carrie Wilde, and welcome to the first of 13 sessions, my free workshops, seminars, Facebook Lives on the power of tattoos. I'm very excited about this, and it's not just about your tattoos, it's about your art in your home and on your body, and the colors around you, and the words, the literature that you see. So we're going to plow right through this. I welcome you for your questions are completely welcome here. And I'm excited that you all are joining us. I'm getting I checked the last 4 sessions we did on my harmonized home, and I kept getting about 30% increase, sometimes up to 50% more from the previous session. So I'm nearing 200 or so views on these videos right now. And I think this is going to be even bigger, which I'm very excited by. I'm a man of science. My degree is in chemical engineering, a Bachelor of Science from Rose-Hulman Institute of Technology. I've been on HGTV, and many of you that know me and know my work knows me as a designer and a builder of homes using harmonized home concepts that I've developed. I speak publicly as well. I've been on a number of TV shows, featured in interviews all over the country. I'm an author, I'm a writer, and have done television production too, and I'm getting ready to produce more. In fact, we just filmed a new show. I love this quote: every artist dips his brush, or her brush, for that matter, in his soul, or her soul, and paints his own nature into his pictures. I love this, and welcome, Gemma. It's good to see you too. I've got other people watching on both of my channels. I wrote my first book in 1996, many moons ago, while I was working for a major Fortune 100 company, and I discuss energy in the workplace. My next books, in fact, all of them pretty much are about energy. This one, I'm excited that I've just completed it. The Power of Tattoos. 12 hidden energy secrets of body art every tattoo enthusiast should know. How we become our art. I wasn't sure when I started interviewing people that were tattooed 5 years ago in Chicago, starting there. Now I'm in Los Angeles. What would happen? I wanted to test out the theory that do we become our art with all of these subjects? And these are, this is pretty much the chapter outline of my book. It's over 400 pages. I think you're going to love it. It's about 112,000 words, which is roughly what the average book that's sold right now. Good length. 21 Gifts is, I'm going to be launching this fall. I'm going to wait a little bit. It's done and ready to go, but I want to market the tattoo book first and spend time doing online workshops and things like that and honing on that. Your home is not just an expression of you. Your home is creating your future. And you're going to see how that is with colors. And as we go into each subsequent session, you're going to see how that is the case. Your art reflects who you are, even the colors you choose to wear. And it creates your future as well. We don't think of that second part as being true. We don't want things over our control, but when we realize it, we're not really in control of much. But that's the place of freedom to live. How to engage the law of attraction. Your vision board includes the following, and it's big. You know, has anybody taken a vision board class? Feel to raise your hand or shout out on the and type it in if you've done a vision board class. I have, and I found out that you know, this tiny board that I created, maybe 2 to 3 feet, is powerful and can be powerful. But if I'm not addressing what my entire vision board is, it really doesn't do much of an impact, especially if I have things in my greater vision board, like body art or art on my walls, that counters what is on the vision board that I did in this vision board class. Our clothing, very important, very powerful, because it's so close to us that we're close to that energy. The colors, the patterns, the logos and symbols that are around us on our clothing, on our body art, our tattoos. the art on our walls, in our homes and offices. Very important. Shapes make a huge difference in your mood, in your biology, and we have a whole session dedicated to that as well. The literature you read, very important. When we're carrying around words from texts that are Bronze Age, perhaps, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that throughout the sessions, because that's in our collective unconscious and it's very powerful. And a lot of these are false belief systems, like women should be denigrated and subjugated. It's tragic. I talk about that a lot in the Tech 2 book. And media, really important. A lot of data in the book on the media that we have, TV, radio, movies, video games, a lot of violence. And then we wonder, well, why do we have violence in our schools? So these are very important. The words we speak. There's research that shows even one word will completely change your biology, your moods. So this is my secret to creating positive changes more easily. That when you change the energy in your home and workplace, hello, Kay, you will change your life. This is what the masters did. Because it's so difficult with a lot of the pop psychologists, which is fine, to go within if you want to make a change. But that's hard because there's a lot of thoughts that are going on, both on the unconscious level, the subconscious level, and the conscious level. And sometimes they're not in harmony with each other. Like if you want to lose weight, you've got one part of you that says, I really want to lose weight and be attractive and feel better and live longer and be healthier, especially when we want to boost our immune system, which is very important. And I'm going to be touching on how to do that with art, as I've done in my Harmonized Home series. All of these videos, by the way, you can access on the Facebook page when they're done in perpetuity for as long as they're there. But if we have, for example, we're trying to lose weight, then there's another part of us that says, wow, I'm going to go get that chocolate chip cookie and eat it right now. Well, that's in conflict with the vision board that we have and the thought that we have that we want to get thin, isn't it? And then we got another thought form that says, I better go to the gym, and another thought form that says, on an unconscious level, I hate running, I hate lifting weights, all that sort of thing. So our vision board has to be aligned, our total vision board. And this is a new concept that I think I haven't heard anywhere before, but one that is critically important. So the secret to engaging what is called the law of attraction, or like attracts like, when we have an energy field out there, we go into resonance with it. And I think art is the best way to engage the law of attraction, where if you put that energy field outside of you, you become it. This is what the masters did. And you're going to be shocked when you read the stories in the book and the science of this. Use the law of resonance for your favor. Put it to work for you. This is very interesting. I had a client, Kay knows this client very well. I was doing a Harmonized Home session with he and his wife and kids, and he was wearing this bracelet. And I asked him, okay, what issues do you want to work on now? And he says, well, I've got this pain and numbness in my arm and my hand. I said, it was on his right wrist, this wristband. I said, it's black, by the way, which we're going to talk about in a second. I said, where did you get that? He said, from the Holocaust Museum 5 months ago, the Holocaust Memorial Museum in DC. He said, I wanted to support, equality and fight hate. And this number, by the way, is the number of one of the survivors that decided he was going to help raise money and raise awareness, which is all wonderful. It's good intention. And we're going to talk about intention. I'm not a big fan of intention. I think actually what the energy fields are out there has much more powerful effect than intention. And I do like Lynn McTaggart's book about her book on intention. I cite it in my book and reference a study or two from it. But what was interesting about him is that he had this pain and numbness in his right arm. And he had that pain when I asked him, how long have you had the pain? He said, 5 months. How long have you been wearing the bracelet? 5 months. I said, take it off and go put it on the other side of the room. And when he went and put it off on this other side of the room and came back and sat in his chair next to me, his pain and numbness vanished completely. What he was doing was he was going into resonance with this pain and suffering from the Holocaust survivor. You see, you have to be very careful when you do this. I have stories about a minister, and she put initials. We're going to talk about that, about energy markers and connecting with people permanently. It's not advisable to put names because you carry them around everywhere. Those people and the energy forms everywhere you are. Very important. I love this quote by Nikola Tesla. He said, if you want to find the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration, because everything, including you, radiates a lot of energy and a lot of information, even down to the smallest cell. Every color is radiating certain kinds of energy that affects your behavior, your biology, your mood, your finances. It's proven. I've got the stats and the studies in my book. This is my corollary to Nikola Tesla's thing. It's a brand new way of looking at art. If you want to know the secrets of your tattoos and your art and how they affect you, think in terms of energy, vibration, frequency, and vibration. This is a quote in my book that I include. So this is a new way of looking at art. This is not about judging if tattoos or other art is good, bad, right, or wrong. I don't do that. What I will tell you is you probably want to avoid this. And by the way, this could be a good tattoo or a good piece of art because of XYZ. These are the energies that are doing it. So this is about cause and effect. If you put something up, what energies are you going to connect with it? And statistically, and through studies, what could possibly happen and what might likely happen? So the question is, what energy and information are you connecting with a single piece of art, like a tattoo? I love this quote. You know, judgment gets so much bad press, like in the Bible, which I was raised in for 18 years. You know, judge not, that's silly. And the question is, well, Carrie, why do you say that's silly? And I say, we all judge. Every one of you judges. Yes, you do. When you go on a date, you start judging automatically. When you meet somebody new, you size them up and down. We do it out of habit. We do it out of survival. So I created this quote when I was writing this book because, you know, I've been thinking a lot about judgment. The judgment piece of it is the wise sage within us, the adult part that can help guide us away from what is toxic for us and toward what will help us heal, grow, and succeed. Judgment is your friend. I love this quote. It's my basis for this book. Paradoxically, though it may seem, it is nonetheless true that life imitates art far more than art imitates life. Oscar Wilde wrote this, and boy, was he wild. I talk about going into resonance with his name. He had a wild life. Yes, he did. And you're going to learn a lot about names and how we go into resonance with them, how we become our names. Some stunning statistics. We're going to get into that when we talk about names and energy markers. I have a whole chapter to it in the book. We become our art. So I've talked about this in another session. In March 4, 2001, Fox Television launched a new series. It was a spinoff from the X-Files called The Lone Gunman. And in their episode, they had a terrorist plot. They actually showed this. I think it's an hour long. I watched most of it. You can find it on YouTube and watch the whole thing. It was a terrorist plot to hijack an airliner jet, and fly it into the World Trade Center set up by the US government. And 6 months, almost to the day later, it happened. So what is the energetic impact of art? In fact, this isn't the only time. There have been numerous times that television, which is basically a series of moving images, foreshadowed the 9/11 disaster. You see that 9 with the 2 twin towers in the back. That whole episode was Bart about going to New York. He visits New York and he gets a cab fare out and he says it's $9. So they have a 9 and 11. The producers, after the 9/11 disaster, went, oh my gosh. They actually removed the episode from syndication. They also predicts, I call it the image does this, the Trump presidency in 3 episodes that I know of. So in one, back in 1999 or 2000. It's in the book. As you know, we've inherited quite a budget crunch from President Trump. And this shows that Lisa Simpson is president after Donald Trump. Fascinating. So Back to the Future, too, by the way, the writers wrote it loosely based on Donald Trump. The storyline was this, that a casino hotel, remember Biff? A businessman uses his money to influence US politics. Of course, it turned out to be a disaster in the film. The Simpsons also predicts, as I say, or predicted, the Super Bowl champions months before, which was written months before the Super Bowl happened, 3 years in a row. Incredible. I discussed the details in the book. The Simpsons also portrayed the Disney acquisition of 20th Century Fox. So how is it that images are so powerful, seemingly? And by the way, it takes faster than a blink of an eye when you when your brain starts processing an image. 13 thousandths of a second. The brain's already starting to work on it, even if you're not looking at it. So the reason why that images are so powerful, because images are conscious and alive, very much so. Even your tattoo is. They literally have thinking energy. Now, maybe not to the point that you and I are thinking about one thought a second, which science says we have, but we do know that images are conscious, and all that data is in the book. We're going to go into it a little deeper in subsequent chapters. These are the 12 elements of art that create your future. In the book, how widely distributed an image is. We're going to talk about each of these a little bit in this session. The exposure of time to an image. How long are you sitting in that field of energy? The proximity to the image. How close are you to the energy field from the color, from the shape, from the art, from the image, from the symbol? Also, what is the universal quality? Because we talk about personal meanings, colors, shapes, symbolism, the quantity. How many tattoos do you have, and where are they on the body? It makes a big difference if you put a butterfly tattoo on your heart chakra or near it, and you put it on your lower chakra, like your spine, the bottom of your spine, your sacrum. We talked about intention, probably one of the weakest, but still important, because that has to do with personal story and also what you intend to do with the art. It is important. Movement depicted. Is there motion depicted in the art? Putting a race car as a tattoo that's speeding down is not recommended. I'm going to show you some other tattoos that show this. Embedded emotions and thoughts. Also the artist's energy. We're going to talk about that a little bit today. So let's talk about the first art factor, the distribution of image. What's so powerful about that? When an image gets distributed, especially on the internet, maybe through a news article, we see the same person over and over again, maybe sometime to the point of getting tired of it. Also, when it's distributed on Facebook, we have to be very careful about the pictures that we take. We're going to talk about that in another session as well. Here's why distribution is so powerful, because what it does is it magnifies the energy and the information attached to the image, which then proliferates it throughout the universal collective unconscious, which we're all part of. Some people call that God. Some people call it the divine. Some people call it the universal unconsciousness. It's the part where it's collecting all the thoughts of you and me and everybody else listening to this. It's powerful. So when things get distributed, the more they're distributed, the more power it gains speed. And here's how that works. So if you have one person thinking a thought form, and this is a whole phenomenon called the psychic feeding the masses, you end up with a sizable energy field like that. But when you have a number of them people, it just starts to multiply and get bigger and bigger and bigger. So that the thoughts and the emotions that we have, if we both believe in something like the rabbit's foot, which in my book, I'm going to show you how believing in the rabbit's foot, you'll actually increase your performance. It's been shown in a couple of studies. It's amazing. It'll affect your behavior for sure. Same thing with golf, which is another example I use. Believing in that lucky charm actually does have power, and it's very real, and it does change your behavior for the better when you believe in that luck. It doesn't make something outside of your behavior. That has not been proven yet to what I have found, although it may have been. I just haven't found it. So the more entities or people that hold these in their consciousness, the more powerful the image becomes. Remember Mikey when Life was introduced, the cereal from Quaker Oats? This is about exposure time. And advertisers have known this for many years. They've known it for decades, that, you know, when you're exposed to an art piece like a commercial or an image again and again and again and again, and you're exposed to it longer and longer for longer periods of time and repeated exposure, you become it. I ran advertising and marketing and sales promotions and PR for Fortune 100 companies, two of them. And obviously, we all knew these studies. So the idea is that you see the image of the cereal. Remember Silence of the Lambs when Hannibal Lecter said, and he was giving her a clue, Clarice a clue, he said, what you see, you begin to covet. And then it changes your behavior, like it did in that film. You energetically then absorb the cereal, you physically absorb the cereal, and then the cereal becomes part of you, part of your human biology. So I want you to think about this, that everything that is around you, you're in a relationship with. Hi, Brenda. You know, you are in a relationship with the people around you, your relationship with your home, the words, the objects around you, the computer. It's living, and you're dynamically exchanging two things nonstop. The closer you are to these energy fields, the more energy and information that you're exchanging with them. Energy and information. This is why resonance works as a phenomenon. So art factor number 3, the proximity of the art. The closer to the art, the faster and more deeply you will resonate with it, which is why when things are on our skin, like tattoos, it distributes rapidly throughout our body, throughout our consciousness. We're absorbing all those thoughts because they're so close to it, as close as we can get. And because the skin is the largest organ of the body, weighing a staggering 15 to 16 pounds. Hi, Karen. You're in my book. The immune system and nerves are intricately connected to the skin. By the way, for everybody that's joining, you'll be able to see this in full swing on my Facebook page, even after this recording is done. If you want to review it, preview it, share it with somebody else, you are welcome to do that. I encourage you to do that. The immune system is very much connected to your skin. So are all the nerves. So your skin is really, really important. And I explain why the skin, being the outer band of the body, contains the most beneficial energy as well as the core centers. So I talk about the exteriors, the shells being the masculine, and the feminine is in the heart of it, in the center. Yeah. The butterfly tattoo. Art factor number 4, universal qualities. So most of us, we attach the personal meaning. We got our stories about our art. I got this tattoo, I got this piece of art, and it represents, you know, lightness and transformation and freedom. But butterflies are essentially homeless, you know, flitting from flower to flower. And what people normally think, because usually it's women that get these tattoos, I've interviewed at least 3 or 4 and more with a dragonfly and some of these other birds that are flying. That's a masculine tattoo, my friends. Not feminine. Why? Because it has to do with motion. And every single person that I've interviewed that has the butterfly or dragonfly, they've had revolving relationships. It puts them into motion, moving from flower to flower. They either have revolving relationships or they have revolving jobs or revolving homes. Within a year or two, they move, or job changes. It's mind-blowingly interesting. The color is important. What is the predominant color of tattoos? Black. Yeah, it's the power color because it's the color of death. In nature, almost everything is black. And all the things that I can list and I could think of in research that were black that were naturally, very few of them in nature are black. Crows and ants. These are things of destruction. Cougars, these are predatory animals and insects. Volcanic ash, ash in general, when you burn something, frostbite, tooth decay, atrophied organs, rotten food. Why are we wearing so much black? There are studies after studies after studies that I include in my book that shows that black is the worst color to wear by far. I've gotten rid of most of my black. I still have black shoes. And ever since I have, I've increased my sales ratio, the amount of closes that I have. I magnetize customers much more quickly. You will too. Wear red. We're going to explain this. I'm going to have a whole session on color and go into a deep dive on tattoo colors too. So wearing black has been caused in a number of studies to cause depression, the panther, exactly, and aggression. And this is why that perhaps people with more than 3 or 4 tattoos in a number of studies have more aggression and mental health issues. We'll talk about that in a second, a little bit more detail. So in sports and prosperity, black is the losing color by far. Documented, and you're going to see that in my book. We're going to talk about this more in the color session because I want you to be as prosperous as possible. And you're going to want to stop wearing black, and you're going to want to stop probably getting most of your tattoos in black if you want to get tattoos. Also, your art in your home, black and white art. I talk about that in my book with research. Shapes are very important. Pointed objects produce what's called in feng shui shooting arrows or poison arrows that can cause pain. And this man, this is a reincarnation tattoo, these daggers. He kept seeing these for years, multiple times a week. I videotaped him. So I'm going to show and edit in the next week or two his interview. And I'm going to break it up into multiple things because there's a lot of juicy stuff in there, a lot of great tidbits that are good for learning. They can increase aggression. It produces masculine energy, and it's very focused. So it can damage the body and produce pain. He had pain in his left ankle, young man, and pain on his left side of his head. He had headaches. You see where that dagger on his left arm is pointing? This is a young man that was fit, that was going to the gym. Very calm guy too, although I think he was numbing. In fact, I know he was. Symbolism is very important. One of the most important things of tattoos because the symbols pack in a ton of energy. Every single person I've interviewed with a sun tattoo has inflammation in that area of the body or around it. One of them had tumors, young guy, on the side of his neck. I cried after I walked out of his interview. It was very sad because the sun energy is very expansive. You will burn up. What happens when you are in the sun 24 hours a day, nonstop, like being exposed to the tattoo? You'll burn up. It's a very masculine force. It's generating heat and light intensely. Nick on the right, you see he has Aries. That's a fire sign. He's got a triple burner there. He's got the rams, the ram horns or the Aries horns, and then the second layers of fire. Then the third one actually has these shooting arrows around it and all these daggers. It nonstop fidgeting. I talk about him in my book. Where you put your art, very important. Half of Americans have at least 2 tattoos. The median is number 4. It's 4 rather. Oh, thanks. Yeah. A number of studies reveal that when people have more than 3 or 4 tattoos, they statistically have substantially more illegal drug use. And this is not all inclusive. When you read the book, you'll see the individual studies. I've got probably over 200 studies cited in the book. So it's not just my opinion. I want to ground it in science. Binge drinking, cheating, they found on tests, for example, mental issues, mental health problems. When people have more than 3 or 4 tattoos. A history of being arrested is also congruent with that. And more high-risk behaviors in general. Now look at this guy here. We talked about sharp angles, and it shows science shows that when you're around a sharp angle, that it'll increase aggression. In fact, in one study, it increased testosterone in the body in men, as well as aggression. So the biology was changed within an hour. Look at that happy face with that bullet in the forehead. I took that photo of this guy at a tattoo convention, right in the middle of the forehead. That's about death, a death tattoo. And I have a whole chapter on the tattoos of death and limitation. Intention of the art. This is a really good example. One of the guys I interviewed has a semicolon tattoo. And I talked about how intention is important, but perhaps the weakest in its power, because intentions are quickly surpassed by the other elements of art that have far more influence, like the distribution. How big is the collective unconscious with this? How many people believe in the Buddha? How many people believe that the rabbit's foot is lucky? It'll change your behavior. Absolutely. And you'll tap into that energy. But the semicolon, as some of you know, is about suicide awareness. Very important. I spend multiple pages on this subject because it's a very important subject. And suicide's growing by leaps and bounds in children. I think it's tripled in the last 5 years in teenage girls. We have an epidemic, and which is why I'm talking about it here. So his intention was to build awareness on suicide because he suffered from it. But as soon as he did that, a lot of his things stopped in his life and paused. Relationship-wise, his finance, he stopped working. So what is the semicolon? Probably the worst symbol that the suicide awareness movement has picked. The energy of stopping and pausing when you really need to go, halting. A semicolon kind of brings you to an alert. Oh my God, something's coming. I got to read what's next. I talk about the semicolon in detail in the book. Any emotion we talked about a little bit. I talk about it a lot in my book. The power of tattoos. Motion in an image will produce motion around the image. Literally, in space. The motion will also increase the masculine energy in the body, producing stress, anxiety, insomnia, ADD, fidgeting, aggression, and even violence. And there are others on here. I've seen it time and time again with the dozens of people that I've interviewed who have masculine tattoos and also motion tattoos. And we're going to go over this in more detail. I just took this photo of this tattoo. Like, what is this guy about? What's going on with him? Trust no one. Embedded emotions and thoughts. He obviously has trust issues, right? So he's revealing his pain. And I found that with my art too. And this is one of the sobering things and why I wrote the book, because I had a wake-up call for myself. And I'm going to show you why that was. I'm going to show you my tattoos. Most tattoos in art seem to reflect our wounds and our pain rather than our strengths and talents. Why? Because our tattoos and our art reveal our past unless we consciously use it to create a future. But most of it is just about story, about what happened to us. This is where art can become a very powerful manifestation tool that will take you into what you want to create in terms of a more positive future. So this guy, I will predict, is going to have problems with relationships. He's obviously not trusting, but what he's doing is he's re-imprinting that. And so what happens is the image re-imprints our pain and our past trauma that's unhealed into our energy body. Then we start attracting more of that pain and more of those circumstances and more of, untrustworthiness and people doing bad things to us. So then we don't trust them for sure. That's what's happening with this guy. I'll put money on it. It re-imprints it to get our attention. Why? This is a really beautiful mechanism because it provides an opportunity for awareness and healing. It's our wake-up call. And when we get positive things in our lives, we know we're on track. Joy is the barometer of the soul. It's a quote that I developed that I have in the book. And whenever you're feeling not in joy, you're not feeling that happiness that's inside, then what that is reflecting is that you're off course somewhere. It's a wake-up call. When you are in joy, that says, keep on chugging, and maybe you can create even more joy. That's part of abundance. So when we choose art subconsciously, this is where, is it Brock? I don't know how to pronounce its French name. Jorge Bach, I don't know. Art is a wound turned into light. It just really got to me when I saw this in, when I saw it online, his quote, because it really does talk about how most of art we choose subconsciously because we're drawn to it, but it doesn't mean it's good for us. In fact, I think most of art is not. And I'm going to show you my tattoos in a second. Most of our art reflects our pain and past trauma, even when it's nonchalant. So I don't have any physical tattoos on my body, but I have a lot of tattoos, and it's art on my walls. And about 5 years ago, when I was doing this tattoo book and doing research for it, I started cataloging and did my own art survey. Here I was holding these art workshops, how art creates your reality. Use it as a manifestation tool. I'm teaching about this, but I didn't take it for myself. And when I did, I was shocked. I looked at almost every piece of art. Like loneliness, even these, see how their backs are turned? These bikers, and they're all separate. They're not doing anything together. So they're all on their own journey by themselves. Maybe biking together, but they're not interacting together. They're together, but not communicating. So this is a really bad one for relationships. And it's fuzzy too. We're going to talk about concrete art versus abstract art. I cover it in the book. I cover it from research about how bad abstract art is most of the time. Now, this one is one of my favorites, and I still have it. It's in my living room. But it really goes to, it starts vibrating with the crown chakra, which is about the universal field of consciousness. It taps into the unconscious field, but it doesn't concretize it. But again, if I have all of my art like this, or nearly all of it, about, it's the Lonely Arts Club. This is the one that really got to me. It's a small portrait, beautifully done, an original oil. And I love that I bought it at an auction down in Florida when I lived down there temporarily. And look, you can't even see her face. Now, you think that your art is about somebody else. All of your art, my friends, is about you. This is the ballet dancer, but that really is me. Feeling unworthy of relationships, feeling lonely, feeling unworthy of success. This is why I'm writing my book, because I've changed my art and my life has changed. My relationships have changed, and yours can too. And you're going to love the book. Anybody who doesn't have tattoos, you do, if you have any art in your wall, and if you're wearing any clothes. So, the last few slides. The last factor I want to talk about is the artist's energy. Very important to know who the artist's energy is, because the artist's energy gets embedded, the emotions and the thought forms and the state of mind. Pablo Picasso is world-renowned as an art, but he's a disaster. His art is a disaster, and his life was disastrous. He suffered from severe depression and schizophrenia, and you can see it in his art. Why would you want to go into resonance with an eyeball here and a mouth there and 14 ears? And, you know, it shows fragmentation, and it creates it in your life. I've seen this. I've got the statistics in there. Something to watch out for. So you can choose art to create a positive future. Most of our art reflects our past stories. It's in the past. It's like driving by looking in the rear view mirror. You'll probably crash. And you'll get the same stuff that you don't want over and over again. But when you use art as a tool for manifesting your future, it's glorious. Thank you. I'm going to probably be doing workshops as well. I'm so happy that you joined me. I'm sorry we went over for about 10 minutes. And And feel free to post your tattoos on my Facebook page. Under this, I'll be looking for them. If you want me to include them, and I'll be happy to analyze them or provide a consultation, kind of, because I want people to see what it is. I do tattoo consultations as well. I'm going to be offering them on my new tattoo website, thepoweroftattoos.com, that is currently being developed. I'm also working on a TV show on tattoos, so I'll leave it at that, and going to be filming that shortly. So thank you so much, you all, and stay tuned for next Sunday, because we're going to have a second section, and we're going to start talking about some of these principles and going deep into them with a lot of stories, a lot of science, a lot of studies, and a lot of you. So thank you, and have a wonderful day, and may you be blessed.